What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Plugin Police. I'm your host, Weaver Beats, and today we'll be checking out Stranular. Stranular is a granular, that's a hard thing to say. Stranular is a granular audio effect plugin for VST3 and AU. It has a very interesting design and graphical user interface to it. It's very precise and has the most accurate visuals of any granular sampler that I've ever seen. Granular effects take small slices of sampled audio from random places or selected spaces within an audio track and plays them back in a variety of different ways. Just gotta explain it for anyone who doesn't know. Here's what it looks and sounds like. I know, it's a pretty impressive demo. It requires macOS 10.11 or higher, or Windows 10 or higher. It's $40 and it has no trial. Firstly, I'm going to talk about all the pros, and then the cons, my overall thoughts, and then we'll give it a rating. The first thing I noticed while using this plugin is I experienced an abnormal lack of crashes. It's extremely stable, especially for something this visually impressive or complex. It's very useful for extremely out there sound design. That's the main thing I've used it for, and what I assume most people would probably use it for as well. Definitely make sure to resample yourself while using this. That's definitely the best way to use it, in my opinion. The more you automate or modulate the knobs, the stranger the sounds will get. The results are also dependent on the source material you're using as well. The specific granular sampler gives you very precise visuals and control over where it's sampling in the audio. One thing I really like about this plugin is the freeze function. I haven't seen too many other granular samplers with this. Fragments has a freeze function, but you can't control it to anywhere near the same degree that you can with Stranular. With Stranular, you can change the location, and I found if you keep fiddling with some of the other knobs on Fragments, it starts to fade out into nothing eventually. So the freeze is nowhere near on the same level is what I'm trying to say. So that is one thing that Stranular has going for it over Fragments. And then Portal, from what I could tell, does not have a freeze function at all. I mean, unless I'm missing it somewhere, I absolutely do not think it has one. I also think Portal has a much worse UI than either of these two plugins. Some interesting things I made with this. I made like a beat with it. I used Stranular and all the melody instruments for this beat. It was kind of hard to use this in a musical context, to be honest. That's one of my actual critiques about it. But I did make some really interesting sound effects, like a motorcycle, like a UFO, interesting IDM type percussions. I was definitely able to like make melodies and samples sound a lot different than they did originally. Now, this plugin really shines when you're using it among other things as well. And that's also one of its biggest faults, in my opinion. If you use the LFO, envelope follower, or anything to help modulate it more, you're going to get a much more extreme result than you would just by leaving the knob static. Using other devices in your DAW or other plugins that you have, such as flanger, chorus, pitch shifting, frequency shifting, corpus, you name it, reverb, delay, all that stuff will help you get a much crazier sound out of this than you would get otherwise. I would definitely say this takes it to the next level. But that takes me to our first issue. This is where we talk about the cons. Now, it'd be great if this plugin had the ability to modulate within the software. At the moment, there's no LFOs or envelopes or anything to help you modulate it. You can do this with other features in your DAW, like automation or, an LFO tool, etc., pattern automation, whatever you want. But at the moment, there's nothing within the software to actually do it on its own. Some other things I've noticed, when the freeze feature is on, it just goes forever, which I understand that it's a freeze function and that's what it's supposed to do. If you press the stop button in your DAW, it keeps going forever. So it'd be nice if there was like a pause button or something inside the plugin, just so you can maintain the sound that you're working on without actually having to stop it and lose it. The only way to keep the sounds you're working on while using the freeze function are through resampling. Like I said, I understand it's an integral feature, but it really kind of can become a problem when you're using it. Like if you're using it in a song, for instance, it's kind of hard to actually use it without resampling. To be honest, most of my critiques, other than the ability to modulate, are related to how you would use this in actual music. Because as a sound design tool, this thing is awesome. It would also be nice if you use it in a sync mode and not only a milliseconds mode. When you're using this in a song, it's a bit hard to sync the milliseconds to the rest of the track. I mean, you can mathematically calculate it, but come on, seriously? I don't do math. I mean, there's definitely some other ways around this as well. What I've done is resample it and then warp it back on beat. But it'd be much easier just to have an option to get it synced back on beat. Maybe also a reverse function. If you could turn the reverse on and off with the grains, that'd be really cool too. Maybe I'm asking for a lot here, but I'm just like putting my brain to the wall here, trying to figure out ways to make it better, or figure out ways that I could use this more differently from other granular plugins. One thing I did notice while using this is you need to make sure the position feature is all the way to the left, at least while you're trying to use it in a song. Otherwise, it'll start late. It has to wait for the audio to get there before it'll actually sample it. So if you're using it in a song and you have the position feature all the way to the right, then it's not going to take effect until audio actually gets there. As far as the granular portion of the plugin, it plays the dry audio on time, obviously. I don't think that's really a criticism because it seems like it's working as intended. It's just something you need to note as someone who uses it. Or maybe another idea would also be to give it like a scale feature. Maybe like have the pitch be able to change a snap to a scale within the plugin. Again, might be wishful thinking here, especially for the price of this plugin. So obviously feel free to disregard this part. Okay, now my overall thoughts and conclusion here. So while this plugin is only for VST3 and AU, I think that could be part of the reason why it's extremely stable. It's very low impact on your CPU from what I can tell, and I'm guessing it's because they focused on just these two specific formats, which I think may have been a good idea on their part. This is definitely the sort of plugin that it depends on how you use it. You can use this plugin and get terrible results or great results, depending on how you use it and what you're using it with. It feels innovative in some ways, and it feels like it's lacking features in other ways, mostly in relation to it working in a musical context. It's definitely not a quick magic go-to plugin like some of the other granular effects are, because they have presets and whatnot. This one requires a little bit of fiddling and setting up in order to get a really cool result. That could be part of the appeal for some people and why it's set up the way it is. While $40 isn't a lot of money, I feel like it kind of is when you pair it with the fact that you need other plugins or other devices in order to make it fully shine. Personally, I think $20 or $30 is the more appropriate price, at least for the way it is currently. I mean, if it had more features, then definitely worth $40. It is definitely the cheapest granular plugin that I know of. The other ones I know of off the top of my head are Output Portal, which is $149, and Arteria Fragments, which is $99. I believe both of them have trials as well too. While they also have more features, they also cost 2 to 3 times as much. Also, they have presets, and I believe the reason they have presets is because there's more you could do with it within just the plugin itself. For instance, in Fragments, you could change the grain direction. Portal has a grain delay. They both have the ability to snap to a scale. Fragments has the ability to put it back in the rhythm with what you originally sampled. And they both also have sync options as well. I give Stranular a
6.5 out of 10.
Now I'm going to go strangle Steven. If you guys want to check out Stranular, I'll link it in the description. Make sure to check out my Discord, Twitter, Twitch. Consider supporting my Patreon or through affiliate links at the bottom of the page. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bang Incorporated.